The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2018 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series powered by LSRTV. We're happy to have you with us tonight from Las Vegas, Nevada for the second race of 9 on this 2017-18 campaign as we welcome you back topside into the LSRTV booth. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Brian Backlund, going to be with you for the call tonight. And as always, downstairs, the lovely and talented Cisco Scarabuza is twisted and tweaking the dials that are bringing us to you this evening. Brian, coming off of a, as always, very unique season opener from the Daytona International Speedway, where Gabe Wood cracked open the season with a trip to victory lane. We kind of head into the bulk of the calendar now, started in week number 2 for the second of 4 races that fall on this side of New Year's.
And it's going to be a really exciting race here tonight, going out to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is a track that is nothing like what we saw last week at Daytona. We saw those guys running a couple inches off of each other all night long. You're not going to see that here tonight. You're going to see these drivers get spread out. The tires are really going to matter here after they get about 5 to 10 laps on the tires. You're really going to see these guys searching around for some grip to see where the fastest line around the racetrack is. And I imagine that at some point tonight, you're going to see these guys venturing up closer to that wall, seeing if they can find some speed, and that might open up the door for some passing opportunities for these drivers.
We take a look at what the championship standings are into tonight. Typically, at the end of week 1, your championship standings are simply exactly what the finishing results were as of a week ago. Not the case, though. We talked a lot about the stage points available from a week ago. We'll also talk about the stage breaks this evening, which add a big extra strategical element to the race. Gabe Wood taking home the checkered flag, still will lead in the championship coming into tonight. 7-point advantage to Chase Kelly. Dwayne Vincent tied second and third. Andrew Friedars, one of our stage winners. Shade Ewing there, P5, and also Comstock taking to a stage win, but not getting the end result, ends up P6. You see the complete look from 1st through 15th position out of the 22 cars that competed. And yes, it is week 1. We're going to have plenty of time to hash things out and get a better look at the championship, but I think Comstock specifically is a good example. Did not at all have a good result at the end of the race, Brian, but being very good to the opening quarter, and then halfway mark of the race and getting those points at the end of stage 1 and 2 keeps him up in the top 6.
Well, and that proves just how important it is to try to run good and get a good finish at the end of those 2 stages, because you said it, David Comstock did not get the finish he was looking for last week at Daytona, got caught up in a wreck late in the race and ended up getting a really bad finish out of it. But because of that stage victory, he's still up there inside the top 6 in points. That's going to be very important for him, and that's also important for a guy at the top of the points right now like Gabe Wood. If he can rack up some stage points throughout these races, even if he doesn't necessarily get the greatest of finish, he could potentially keep himself in a position to run for the championship. So it works on both sides of this. It keeps guys that maybe don't get the run they're looking for in it, but it also helps those guys that actually can run up front and be consistent and give them an opportunity to try to build a gap on them.
And the stages in tonight's 125-lap contest going to run from stage 1 through lap 31, which brings us to quarter distance in this race. The yellow flag would fly at the completion of lap 31, and the stage 2 going to come at a halfway point. That's at the completion of lap 62, and then we will race out from that point on to the end with the full slate of championship points available when the checkered flag flies at the end of the evening. That's how we're going to split up this race, and those relative relatively shorter stages. I know that they are longer in lap-wise than we saw at Daytona, but when you kind of harness things in here at an intermediate racetrack, means that you could really just go for it from the beginning to the end of those stages, and then the pit strategy comes more into effect, I think, towards that second half of the race, of course, unless you want to short pit some stage ends, mix things up a little bit.
You can definitely try a varying amount of strategies here tonight at Las Vegas, and I expect that we might see some of those guys that in the back half of the top 10, maybe on the outside of the top 10, if we catch a caution towards the end of the stage, they may come to pit road, try to get tires and see if they can't make something happen to get a few stage points. We actually saw that last week at Daytona. A few guys pitted right before the end of the first stage. We had a one-lap shootout that ended up with a wreck, and those guys that ended up pitting, they still got stage points, plus they got track position. There's going to be a lot of different things going on here tonight, and I expect that some of these guys, especially on the ones that are starting in the back half, may take some chances here at the beginning.
We've got 188 miles to decide it all, so let's go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid for race number 2. Pole position tonight going to go to the 89 machine of Jeff Ward, who will start up front, courtesy of a 28.930, beating out Shane Ewing for pole by 1/1000th of a second, kicks to 32 outside of the front row in P2. You take a look back to row number 2, third starting spot tonight, 96 of Mitch Rolo, stage winner from Daytona a week ago. Andrew Faridars will roll off in 4th, and just behind them, the 34 of Colby Buck rounds out top 5.
Starting in that 6th position here tonight is Anthony DeBarro, and then last week's winner at Daytona, Gabe Wood, will start from the 7th position here tonight. Braden Whittaker will start P8, then we have Brendan Kohler starting 9th, and running off the top 10, Daniel Eberhardt will start P10.
Back at row number 6 inside, the 27 of Ashton Crowder will start tonight in 11th position, and the fastest driver from practice earlier tonight, Justin Lisenby, finds himself mid-pack P12, looking to show some of that speed and to work his way up towards the front. David Comstock, also a stage winner from a week ago with the JT Plaque Chevrolet. He'll start in the unlucky number 13 starting spot tonight, but hey, it's Vegas. We'll see if he can get the job done. Dylan Hickey, exactly where he was in practice, P14 in Q, and Chase Kelly ends up in 15th.
Shane Stanley R is going to start from the 16th position. Then we have Steve Bavacqua starting 17th. David Batone will start in the 18th position. And the last driver to take a time here tonight, John Abbott, starts 19th. Then we have 2 more drivers in this field. They both took provisionals. Dwayne Vincent will start from the 20th position, and Gerald Campbell will start P21 here tonight in this 125 lap affair. And Evan, our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, just passed a little note to us. This is the last race on the current build in the iRacing sim that we have right now. There is a big change coming tomorrow when they release the new build. So after tonight, these guys may not really know what to expect out of these cars moving forward.
We don't really have coverage of the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series on Tuesdays. They have the week off. It is a big change coming to the service. If you're a spectator or a sim racer alike, make sure you get your sim updated nice and early in the morning so you can have plenty of time to play around with the stage racing, the rallycross, and all that fun stuff. It's coming tomorrow, and it will have a big effect on all of the NASCAR National Touring Series machines, especially in these Xfinity Series cars as they all get updated to 2018 spec. That being said, for the time being, we're happy that you're with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Pace car down at infield in the hands of Jeff Ward as we get set to take the green flag from America's Racing Showplace. American Ethanol green flag in the air, and stage 1 is off and away. Good start top and bottom, but it will be Jeff Ward to turn 1.
And Anthony DeBarro tried to force it 3 wide back in that 6th position right off the bat. He went to the outside line. He was able to get back in line 2 wide. Now he's trying to find his way around these guys that are right around him, trying to push Shane Ewing down the back straightaway here as they're trying to get up to speed. And you can see everybody's fighting for grip and fighting for a lane on the racetrack. On the bottom of the racetrack now in the number 34 machine, that's Colby Buck that's trying to hold off Anthony DeBarro. But DeBarro gets a great run coming up off the corner. Looks like he's going to be able to clear that 34 machine, and he will indeed. That'll move him up into the 5th position, and now he goes to battle with the 32 of Shane Ewing and the 88 of Andrew Faridars.
And he made a decision as they fight side by side in front of him. He wanted to go to the inside of the racetrack, tucked up behind Friedars. Maybe the wrong decision because outside was the place to be. And Shane Ewing, who dropped back 2 spots on the drop of the green flag, finally gets one of them back, jumps back up to 3rd, and it'll drop the 88 of Friedars back right where he started in the number 4 position. So top 4 single file. It's Ward, Rollo, Ewing, and Friedars. Battle for 5th on back is on. DeBarro sneaking away a little bit from the challenge between Whitaker and Buck.
And Colby Buck's on the outside line just trying to hang on. He gets a great run coming off turn 2 right there. He'll hold off Braden Whittaker, and that will move him up into that 6th position ahead of Braden. And now he has the opportunity to try to chase back down Anthony DeBarro, who he was doing battle with just about 2 laps ago. He's got a little bit of work to do as he's lost about 3 car lengths to him. And now he's also got to worry as here comes Braden looking back to the inside. He had an opportunity, wasn't quite able to get there, and now he also has challenge from behind. That's Daniel Eberhardt trying to take that 7th position away as they work through turns 1 and 2.
You saw that 04 machine to make a transition to the flat of the racetrack down in that tri-oval. Got a little bit loose coming back up. It can get tricky at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Not sure if that's why Eberhardt got a good run, but either way, here comes an Honda machine at the other end of the racetrack. Not clear yet, but does a pretty good job of getting speed off of the corner. Most everybody ducking below that white line, and Eberhardt is going to get the spot +3 already on the evening. After starting in 10th, he's 7th, and a much higher line in 1 and 2 than those in front and behind him as he tries to chase down Colby Buck into P6. Single file from that point on up to the front. No changes since we last looked inside the top 5.
I think what you're seeing Daniel Eberhardt do down in turns 1 and 2 is something you're going to see a lot of these drivers begin to do once the tires really begin to wear out. He's moving up the racetrack and starting to try to search for grip up towards the top of the racetrack. And after we get a handful more laps on the cars or on the tires, I believe you're going to see everybody up there. You see Daniel Eberhardt once again goes up almost against the wall down into turn 1. He was able to move the car down about a half a lane, and then he got a great run coming off the corner, which allowed him to close right in on the back bumper of Colby Buck. He now goes to the bottom of the racetrack, and he is battling for that 6th position. He gets a great run coming up off of turn 4, and I believe he's going to clear the 34, makes a move to the apron as he crosses the start-finish line, and he will indeed move into that 6th position. And now you see once again he's going to go back up top in 1 and 2 where there's a lot of grip up there once the tires start to wear out.
And you see he really tries to wind it up in turn 2. That outside works a lot better in 2 than it does in 4. Conventional wisdom would be if you pass somebody on the bottom, the guy topside is going to get a big run off of the corner. But the last 2 passes Eberhardt has made on Buck and on Whitaker, he has been on the bottom side in turn 4 and actually gotten a better run down the front stretch than the guys on his outside. Not really able to use that banking to their advantage, and it's allowed Donati to now go +4. He's the only driver who started outside of the top 9 who has been able to work his way in. Other than that, a couple of small position changes here or there, but he is your biggest mover in the field right now at just +4. In front of him, fighting continuing to go on, the 34 machine of Colby Buck and the 04 of Whitaker now behind him, fighting for the positions that he's left behind in 7th, but also DeBarro and Friedars in a little exchange of their own, something that I feel like that Nani will be a part of quite shortly.
Absolutely, he will as he continues to close that gap down on those 2 drivers ahead of him. And you can see right now that Anthony DeBarro has saw what he was doing in his rearview mirror and now has also begun to move up the racetrack in 1 and 2. But they all go back down to the bottom of the racetrack in 3 and 4 because right now that's the quickest place to be on that end of the racetrack. And it looks like DeBarro actually tried, Eberhardt may have tried to move just a little bit up the racetrack to see if he could find some grip. It didn't really work for him as I saw him lose some ground to the 9 machine, but now he's back up against the wall down here in 1 and 2. DeBarro not quite as high yet, but he's searching for grip up there as well, and they both get a great run off the corner. Looks like DeBarro has an opportunity at Andrew Friedars, but not quite close enough to actually make that move, so now he once again has to try to set him up down in 3 and 4, and this time he runs the middle of the racetrack to see if there's any grip there. Unfortunately, it did not work for him, and Andrew Friedars was able to pull him away by about a car length right there.
Meanwhile, up at the very front, Jeff Ward has doubled his advantage over 2nd place Mitch Rollo in just the last 2 laps. It went from a 4/10 of a second advantage to now a 9/10 of a second as the 89 pulls to the biggest lead he has had this evening. Shane Ewing, though, the 32 machine, just 1.6 seconds back. Not a good run that time down the Nellis straightaway. Allows the 88 to catch up to him and charging to the inside. Here comes Friedars. He's got the 9 in tow. Behind him is Daniel Eberhardt. How about a 4-way fight for 3rd on track? 2x2 the lead group is into turn number 1, and the inside going to be the place to be. Looks like Friedars has got it in the nationwide Chevrolet. He'll slide up to take the lawn away.
I believe about a lap ago, Shane Ewing got up against the wall coming off of turn 2. I can see some damage on the right front of that car, and I think that's what's put him in the position he's in right now, trying to fend off these guys for position, as he's just not quite able to do it. I believe that the damage has definitely hurt that 32 machine right now, as DeBarro was able to get by, and now here comes Eberhardt trying to make that move. He's on the inside, goes to the bottom of the racetrack, will easily make the pass on Shane Ewing. Now sets his sights on the 9. Now Shane Ewing's actually going to try to fight back coming off of turn 2. Got a pretty good run coming up off the corner and is able to stay even with Eberhardt as they go down into turn 3 this time. But Eberhardt has the bottom of the racetrack, which so far has been the preferred line down in 3 and 4. But look at Shane Ewing get a great run coming off the corner. I believe he was able to use that momentum and keep Eberhardt from being able to keep the car wound up, and that allowed him to pass Eberhardt and move back into that 5th position.
Eberhardt has been so good down at that end of the racetrack in 3 and 4, being able to complete those passes on the bottom, even though the top side has the advantage of running down the hill and using the banking of 20 degrees way up against the top side of the racetrack to their advantage. So Eberhardt has to maintain P6 for the time being. Still not a good exchange though for the 32. He does stop the bleeding per se, but he does fall from 3rd to 5th with Radars up to number 3 position, and Anthony DeBarro slotted right in there into the middle in 4th spot. And you're seeing a lot more drivers now, especially down into 1 and 2, work high and low. It was the Eberhardt entry, the Donnie car, who was first to go way up top. He's now more so in the middle of 1 and 2, and it's Ewing who's trying to move around, going a little bit higher now at both ends of the racetrack.
And the more that they put laps on the tires, the more you're going to see that happen for these drivers, because the high line is going to be the preferred groove. Because how much the tires wear out, they start to lose grip, they start to slide around, and the best way to keep you from having to worry about that is to not have to turn the wheel as much. You get up against that wall, you're not turning the wheel as much as you would be if you're running the bottom of the racetrack, and that's what these drivers are going to do. You're going to see that throughout the entire evening. And I want to talk about somebody that we haven't really gotten to talk about much yet in this race, and you mentioned it in the lineup, that Justin Lisenby, he was the fastest car in practice. He started back in the 12th position. He went backwards at the beginning. He fell back to 14th at one point. He has now worked his way up inside the top 10 in that 10th position, and he is beginning to look like he's got a pretty fast car as he's working on the back bumper of Ashton Crowder, trying to take that 9th position away, and he's also right behind Gabe Wood. I believe this 31 machine, Evan, if he can get some track position, he's going to be a factor. And we have a wreck on the backstretch. I don't know if it's going to bring out a caution. I saw a couple of cars go around on the back straightaway, and it looks like they're going to keep it off the racing surface. That was the 6th machine of Gerald Campbell, and I didn't catch the other number, but there was a wreck. Braden Whittaker on the backstretch as well.
It was Whitaker who got up into the fence, very similar to what we have been seeing with the issues with Shane Ewing just getting a little bit too tight off. He hit the wall, came back down right across the nose of the number 6 Ford of Gerald Campbell. Campbell was able to more or less save that car, had to lock it up in doing so. Whitaker actually went all the way around, got into the inside fence. Both those cars, though, when they had their issues, were on the flat of the racetrack below the white line, so no caution, and we will stay green past the halfway point in stage 1.
Yeah, only about 12 more laps in this stage 1 here, and you can see the top 10 really beginning to shape up, and there's a good battle for some stage points going on in this top 10 right now, as there's several cars that are right on top of each other. You can pretty much go from 2nd all the way back to 10th. They're within about 1.8 seconds of each other right now, and these guys are continuing to race really hard, and you can see David Comstock, he's right on the outside of the top 10. He's looking for some stage points, and we already mentioned just how important those stage points are. Comstock won the stage last week but got caught up in a wreck, and he was able to still get a good point stay out of it. Right now, he would not get any stage points at all running back there in that 11th position. Justin Lisenby would get just 1 for running 10th. So these guys have a lot of work to do here in the next 10 and 12 laps or so if they want to get some stage points and actually get something that's going to be valuable to them.
Biggest gap now we've seen all night long between the top 2. Ward almost 3 seconds in front, but a late charge by Anthony DeBarro closing in the fight for 2nd position, but a half a lane up. I watch as he kind of traces the line of the 88th of the quarter. Ken DeBarro sneak up and get the 9 bonus points instead of the 8 at the stage break. He's the closest all night he has been to Fridar's. Kohler just behind. Can't forget about the 64. He's been a little bit more quiet in all of these exchanges, but he's also gone +5 from 9th to 4th in an impressive charge up front.
A pretty big battle going on with Ashton Crowder, Shane Ewing. Ashton Crowder was actually able to make the pass easily on Shane Ewing to move up into that 7th position, and now he is trying to chase down Daniel Eberhardt back there. As you see another battle going on right behind this, and that's for that 10th position. Justin Lisenby and David Comstock, they're battling hard for that last position, and they're also trying to find their way around the 00 of Gabe Wood. They're right on the back bumper of him, but right now they just have not been able to find their way around him. And it looks like Shane Ewing, that damage is really beginning to hurt that machine as he's falling back to this battle as well, right in front of the 00 of Gabe Wood, and it really just looks like that car is not handling good at all through the middle of the corner. You can see that's where he is losing all of his time as Gabe Wood goes to the bottom of the racetrack, pins that car to the white line, and now is trying to take that position away, but Shane will fight back on the outside, and he's able to hold off Gabe for the time being, and now he's just fighting for his virtual life right now. Just hang on inside the top 10, get to the stage caution, then he can get that damage worked on.
And that's a critical decision. Do you want to stay down and let the car get fixed a little bit, or what's going to be the call? I'm sure the stage points might lessen the burden of giving up a couple of positions, but these guys are going to fight all the way to the end of this thing. 00 Gabe Wood still on the inside for 9th. The 32 of Shane Ewing cleared him for a second, and he slides up in front of him. 32 didn't like it, but that's what you do with about 7 laps to go in a race, and I guess also with 7 to go in a stage.
And that was a great move, and it actually opened the door for Justin Lisenby to also be able to get by Shane Ewing, as Shane had the checkup coming off the corner where Justin did not. He was able to go around the 32, take that position away, and that'll move him up to 9th, and that moves Shane now back to the 10th position, just trying to hang on, get to that stage break, get a chance to get to pit road. But that battle is going on, and we also have another battle beginning to shape up as well. Once again, it's between the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt and the 27 of Ashton Crowder. Ashton has been really close to him, and just doing everything he can trying to get there. And then there's another battle going on right in front of these guys. Anthony DeBarro and Andrew Freenarge going at it hard for that 2nd, 3rd position, and he's got a helper right behind him, or he's got competition right behind him in the number 64, Brendan Kohler. All 3 of these guys fighting hard here as we get down to the last 6 laps of the stage.
That's a fight that I saw brewed a couple of laps ago. They are there. Yet to see, though, a move by the 9 or the 64 to try to get around the 88 of Faridars, who is very much now on the defensive, running in 2nd position in this race. We'll see if they're going to get an opportunity to try something, or if they will continue to run single file as they do. Even Daniel Eberhardt in the 90 is not all that far removed. I think if Kohler just kind of sits around and doesn't try to make a move on the 9, he might get passed up by the 90. Just behind Eberhardt is Crowder. So we're going to have a culmination of about 4 or 5 different cars here in the battle for 2nd before this stage is up. 27 laps down this time, 4 to go to the lap 31 stage break.
And while those guys are going at it, Justin Lisenby just got around Gabe Wood for that 7th position, and now here comes David Comstock as well, trying to make the move. He's on the bottom of the racetrack, running the apron down the front stretch to get alongside the 00, and now goes to the bottom of the racetrack, tries to make that move to pass the 00. Can he slide up in front of Gabe like we saw Gabe do to Shane? He's not quite going to be able to get clear, and we'll have to keep that car pinned to the bottom of the racetrack. It looks like Gabe might have got a little piece of the wall coming off turn 2. Doesn't look like it really hurt that car very much, but it certainly hurt the momentum just a little bit, and that keeps Comstock right there even with him, and now he starts to inch ahead as they come off turn 4. That will be for the 8th and 9th position, and it looks like Comstock has the advantage now as they head back to 1.
Inch for a position in front of them. Ashton Crowder is able to leapfrog Daniel Eberhardt. They swap out 5th and 6th position, although maybe the move not going to allow the 27 Crowder to get up to that 3-way fight between Faridars, DeBarro, and Kohler. Still no change for position there. They occupy 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The 64 hard to the inside. Can't get there as DeBarro shuts the door. 2 to go in the stage this time. All of this 3+ seconds behind Jeff Ford, who's out in front still.
And Jeff Ford has nothing to worry about right now. He just has to keep that car clean for another 2 laps, and he'll get his first stage win of the season. But this battle is on for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. As you can see, Brendan Kohler is all over the back bumper of Anthony DeBarro. Looks low, like he's going to make the move into 3. Wasn't quite close enough to get to him, and now he settles back in line behind him. And these guys are coming to the white flag in this first stage. Who's going to get these positions? Who's going to get the stage points when they come back around?
Caution will fly at the line. The battle is on for second. The battle's on deeper in the pack as well, fighting throughout the field. 10 bonus points available to the first driver across the line. It'll be 1-point increments all the way through P10, who will get 1 bonus point and uncontested. In turns 3 and 4, Jeff Ward out-qualified your second-place starter, Shane Ewan, by just 1,000th, but he outran everybody else in the opening 31 laps by 4 seconds. Stage 1 winner is Jeff Ward, tight behind for second. It will be Faridars winning that fight.
And what a great battle we saw these guys putting on in the last half of this stage. Everybody up inside the top 10 was fighting for their lives, trying to get that 1 extra point that they could possibly get to move them ahead of somebody in the points and possibly give them an opportunity to win the championship. And what a great battle that was between second, third, and fourth. Andrew Freenars, Anthony DeBarro, and Brendan Kohler. That was one of the better battles we've seen in a while here, and it was really cool.
Obviously a fun run down to the end, and it may seem a little bit too long-term to talk about it this early, but it has to be, considered that these could be critical points in the championship by the time things get down to much later on in the season. Jeff Ward, though, is your stage winner, followed by Andrew Faridars, Anthony DeBarro, who comes home third, Brendan Kohler fourth, and Ashton Crowder in fifth. Daniel Eberhardt is P6, Justin Linson to be 7th, David Comstock 8th, Gabe Wood 9th, and Shane Ewing in 10th are due to the drivers who walk away with the stage points at lap number 31.
And we're getting ready to see pit stops here as Jeff Ward will probably be the first car to pit road after that long green flag run. I believe pit road is open this time by, so for the first time here tonight, these drivers are going to have to come to the attention of their pit crew. This gives them an opportunity to get new tires, put some fuel in that car, and if they have a fast pit stop, they might be able to gain a little bit of track position here. And we've seen how difficult it can be to pass with the way the outside line is able to carry some speed to hold those guys off. So this could be your biggest opportunity to make up some time and get that track position that you don't really have right now. And for Jeff Ward, he just wants a clean pit stop so he can keep the race lead and try to stay ahead of these guys. It looks like he's got the best car here tonight. He doesn't need any issues. Everybody slides into their pit boxes. It looks like it's going to be clean on everybody except for the 9 of Anthony DeBarro. He slides through, had to back up. That could cost him some valuable time down here on pit road. And while all that's going on, everybody else looks like they have a clean pit stop. The left sides are up on the 89 as well as most everybody else on pit road, and Jeff Ward will easily win the race off pit road, followed by the 88 of Andrew Freenars, and then it's a bit of a race back there between Eberhardt, Comstock, and Lisenby. Where those guys come from, they're going to move up into 3rd, 4th, and 5th coming off of pit road.
Jeff Ward, easy in, easy out. Your stage 1 winner will lead through the pit stops at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll take a very quick second to step aside and go LSRTV nonstop. When we come back, stage 2, it's all Jeff Ward from Las Vegas. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the 2018 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series powered by LSRTV. And back live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, lights out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car. Restart set to go. A little bit of a shuffling up of the running order inside of your top 10 from the end of stage number 1. But the constant is Jeff Ward. He brought us to the green flag the first time. Now he's looking for another stage win as stage 2 gets underway. Lap number 36 now in the works as we race 262. Ward's out in front, leaving the fight for second behind him.
And what a battle that is right now. As you can see, Eberhardt's on the bottom, Freenars is on the top, and then you've got Comstock right there as well trying to make something happen. Freenars gets a good run off of turn 2 that time, tries to hold on and hold off the number 90 of Daniel Eberhardt, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to, as Eberhardt goes to the bottom of the racetrack, gets a great run coming up off turn 4, and he will take that second position away from Freenars, and will move into that position and now try to chase down Jeff Ward. And while that's going on, a great battle going on right behind these guys. It looks like that is Brendan Kohler and Ashton Crowder battling for the 5th and 6th position.
Remember, it was Ashton Crowder who may have been one of the fastest cars towards the end of the stage break. He actually had passed up the 42 of David Comstock, ended up losing that spot on the trip down to the pit lane, but did look very good late. Started this race at 11th, currently runs in 5th, and doing a very good job of working on a tight top lane in 3 and 4. Again, some guys have really struggled with carrying that speed all the way through that end of the racetrack and onto the lighter banked exit of 4 through the front stretch, but the 27 is doing a good job and has some momentum this time. He might get boxed in though. A lower exit for the 42 keeps Crowder pinned a little bit. He will clear the 64 as now he decides which way he wants to go on the 42. That now a battle for 4th.
And he elected to go to the outside line. You can see the outside line in 3 and 4 is really starting to pick up a little bit of speed. It wasn't so much in the first stage, but you're seeing it now as Crowder was able to use that outside line. He got to the outside of Comstock. Now he's up top again in 1 and 2, and this time will make easy work of the 42 machine. That will move Crowder up into that 4th position as he easily gets by the 42 machine. Now he's going to try to chase down Andrew Freenars, who's currently in that 3rd position, about 4 car lengths ahead of him, and he's got a really strong looking car right now. Everybody's single file so far through the top 10. Now that battle has gotten sorted out, you can see a couple of guys in the back half of the top 10 trying to make something happen. Looks like the number 96 of Mitch Rollers to the inside of Shane Ewing. That's a battle for actually the 9th and 10th position exactly, and Gabe Wood is right in the middle of it as well.
You're still very early into the run, so everybody's nice and tightly packed together. DeBarro, Wood, Ewing, and Rollo, everybody kind of sitting on top of each other here in this battle for position. The double O trying to get on the inside of DeBarro. Not going to happen. Second time we've seen the 9 make a dive down to the white line to protect that inside in turns 3 and 4 on the racetrack. Behind them, also another aggressive fight. Jay Ewing and Steve Bavacqua, the 36, has done a good job gaining 6 positions since he started this race. Haven't talked a lot about him. He's looking to break into the top 10. He just has to get around to 32 to do so. Gave the 32 a little bit of a bump the last time in turn 4. And as they head back down to this end of the racetrack once more, he will clear him to get P10.
And right behind him is another driver that is moving his way up through the field. He started in the 20th position tonight, and that's Dwayne Vincent. He's up to the 12th position now, up 8 positions since the start of this race, and he looks to the inside of that number 32 machine now and was not quite able to get the run, and I believe that's actually going to open the door for the number 6 of Gerald Campbell to go around him on the outside line, and it will, as that's going to move that 6 machine ahead of Dwayne Vincent and move him back to the 13th position. But Dwayne Vincent is slowly starting to make his way closer to the front after starting back there. And how about Jared Campbell as well? He also took a provisional, started in the very last position here tonight, and he's making some headway now as he's also now moved up into that 12th position. So both of those drivers, as well as Steve Bavacqua, are having some really good runs up through the field in the beginning of this race.
Yeah, after the stage break, most definitely, but towards the end of the opening stage as well, we saw a lot of those drivers making pretty big gains. Daniel Eberhardt is closing on your race leader. He's the fastest car on track the last 2 times around. The gap between the top 2 from 0.6 of a second now down to 5. Eberhardt plus 8 positions. Crowder in 4th, himself plus 7. David Comstock plus 8 as he runs in 5th. So there's quite a few drivers who have been able to pick up significant ground in the opening portions of this race. And I think if you can get yourself within about 3 positions of your target by halfway, which would be the end of stage number 2, then you're in a pretty good position and set up for the second half of the race to try to get that. Now, for some drivers, that may be simply shooting for a top 10. Other drivers, maybe shooting for a top 5. We know that Daniel Eberhardt's expectation is to fight for a win, and now he's within half a second. Jeff Ward was not at all contested on that last run, so if Eberhardt can continue this speed all the way up to the back bumper, it will be interesting to see how those two negotiate it.
And I find it interesting because, like you just mentioned, Jeff did not have any competition in that first stage, but now he's got somebody on his back bumper. How hard is he going to push the issue at this point of the run to try to hold off Daniel Eberhardt? We saw that he had a really strong car through the entire stage, and he was able to continuously open that gap up the longer the run got. But now I see that number 89 machine kind of pushing the issue just a little bit more than he was in the beginning of that first stage, and this could end up coming back to haunt him if you get some of these guys, especially a guy like Ashton Crowder, who was so much faster than everybody at the end of that first stage. If he pushes the issue too hard here now, Evan, that could open the door for Ashton and other guys back there to really close that gap and get back to him before this thing is all said and done.
Last time by, Eberhardt with a 29.958. It was a 9.47 for Jeff Ward. So for the first time in quite some time, the 89's lap time was better. And it's difficult to say if Jeff Ward saw Eberhardt closing and kind of turned up the wick at all. But Eberhardt was gaining from anywhere from a half a tenth to a tenth per lap. And all of a sudden, Jeff Ward has kind of stopped that advance at a half a second. Now, Jeff Ward's lap times have been getting slower every single time by. So have Daniel Eberhardt's, but another lap that time in the bank for the 89 machine grows the gap that little bit. And you have to wonder again if Jeff Ward, pushing that car a little bit too much to avoid the confrontation, would rather have the gap than the tires, or if Daniel Eberhardt may be the one backing off or maybe used it up too early.
Well, I know Eberhardt really took off at the beginning of the run trying to get as much track position as he could, and it worked out to his favor because he was able to get all the way up to second, where he wasn't even up inside the top 5 when the first stage ended. So it certainly worked in his favor, but now you can see that it's beginning to come back just a little bit as he's losing more time to that 89 machine. And I am noticing that back there in that third position, Andrew Freenarge is beginning to run just a little bit quicker than both of these drivers right now. He's knocked off 2/10 in the last 4 laps off of these two ahead of him. So the tire is definitely beginning to become a factor. The problem is now with about 13 laps left in this stage, I don't know if he's got enough time to make up 2.9 seconds. It's going to be interesting, and he's certainly going to have to make a charge at it, but as he ticks off about almost another tenth that last time by, he's going to have to take bigger chunks off of it if he wants to close the gap down and actually catch both of these drivers and be able to take those positions away. But he's certainly working hard, and he's also got to be mindful as well, Evan, because Ashton Crowder's right on his back bumper.
Crowder not all that far back as well. It's pretty evenly spaced once you find Friedar is in third between he and then Crowder. Comstock, Kohler, you're talking about a half a second between all of those drivers in line. Fighting a little bit deeper in the pack, that Steve Bavacqua-Shane Ewing battle has not gone away. As we saw, Bavacqua's 36 was able to make the pass on Ewing to break into the top 10 not all that long ago. The 32 trying to come back with a vengeance. Tried the inside a lap ago, did not work. Another big run at a turn 2 this time. He'll duck down low. It will be side by side to turn 3.
And Shane Ewing on the bottom, Steve Bavacqua on the top, and it looks like Shane Ewing is going to have the momentum this time, but here comes Steve back on the outside line, gets a great run up off the corner. It looks like he might have just scratched the wall just a little bit, but it didn't slow him down at all as he's able to inch back ahead and get clear of Shane Ewing to hold on to that 10th position right now, and Shane is going to have to battle back again if he wants to get back to the door of that 36 machine to try to get back up inside the top 10. This has been a great battle these two have had for the last 10 laps or so, and it just continues to go on. But now you can see Steve Bavacqua is beginning to get away from him just a little bit as he opens that gap up by about 2 car lengths now. Looks like he's got some speed left in that car after that battle.
It definitely still has a little bit of kick in it, just kind of scanning through to see if anybody else has been able to close in. The intervals are getting tighter and tighter between Friedars, Crowder, and Comstock. We saw that happen to the end of stage number 1, and nothing really came of it. It was tight. We thought that it was going to break wide open, and they ended up coming across the line, all 3 of them, within about 7/10 of a second of each other, but nobody actually got to make a complete full-fledged challenge, so still waiting to see if this fight for third will break open this time, or if it will just continue until the end of the stage break, because working lap number 54 to the end of the stage break, which comes at lap 62, means only 8 laps to go in stage 2, coming to the line this time. So far, nobody really trying the undercut strategy and racing for points here early on. Again, the complexion of this race will completely change halfway on because you're not going to be able to make this short sprint to the end, but we're almost at another points payout.
I think the big issue with pitting under green here at Las Vegas is you will lose more than a lap on pit road while everybody else stays out on the racetrack. So unless you have enough time to make that time back up and get back on the lead lap, it's not really going to benefit you. So I don't think you'll see anybody come to pit road under green unless they have some issues in this stage. But I can tell you one driver that's looking forward to the end of that stage, and that's Daniel Eberhardt, because he's lost ground to Jeff Ward, back 1.3 seconds now, but he's also falling back to the clutches of these guys as we have a great battle going on now between Comstock and Crowder. Comstock's on the bottom, tried to take that position away, was not able to do it. Crowder was able to fend them off and hold on to that third position, but Daniel Eberhardt, Evan, he's falling back to these guys. He's only 1.5 seconds ahead of him, and he's been losing about 2 to 3 tenths of a lap here, every single lap, just falling back to these guys. He might be in jeopardy of losing that second position.
But we did see finally somebody going to make a move, and it was the exchange between the 27 and the 42. They end up in the same order at the end of the day, and just like last time, here comes Brendan Kohler. Anthony DeBarro may end up just a couple of tenths out of an actual fighting position in all of this. Still in a points paying position. Tad back, ready to right now the number 7 spot overall. And you can see the 27 really trying to wind it up, get a good run down at a turn 2. Lost a little bit of ground that time on Faridar. So looks like that the 88 machine just has to hold on for 5 more circuits around the racetrack. And he's going to be able to snag third, which would be 8 bonus points for the stage.
He's doing a great job holding off that 27 machine right now. Crowder, again, looks like he's got a lot of speed at the end of the run, but the problem is it's so hard to make that pass. You can't really go to the bottom in 1 and 2 because the momentum carries you through or off the corner, and you can't really go to the bottom in 3 and 4 anymore because the guy on the outside can carry that speed again and keep the position ahead of you. So it's really difficult for these guys to make that move. You almost have to wait for the guy in front of you to make a mistake and hope that you have enough time to capitalize on it. And you can see Crowder gets a great run through 3 and 4, gets right on the back bumper. He might actually be bump drafting the 88 machine now as they go down the front stretch here, staying right on his back bumper, following in his tracks as they go down into the corner. He backs off, goes a little bit higher than the 88 this time, and is going to try to carry that speed up off the corner. And now, does he have the momentum he needs to get to the back bumper and possibly try to get to the door of the 88 machine? The answer is no as they get down to turn 3. He's still about a half a car length off of him.
Running out of opportunities, 3 laps to go to stage this time by. When the stage breaks, we'll also be at the halfway point tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in tonight's 125-lap, 188-mile contest. The battle between first and second has really simmered down, as you can see by the intervals at the top of your screen now. 2.2 seconds. Looks like the Jeff Ward has fended off the Daniel Eberhardt charge for the time being. And again, there but just unable to make the move is Crowder and the Andrew Faridars David Comstock sandwich 2 more times to try something.
And it looks like Crowder went a little bit higher down in 3 and 4 to see if he could find something, maybe get a little bit of speed to give him an opportunity. This is his last shot here. He's got about 2 laps left. If he's going to make a move for that third position, he's got to do it now. The problem is he just isn't quite close enough. He carries that speed through the middle of 1 and 2 one more time, tries to get to the back bumper of Faridars, but just doesn't quite have the speed he needs. Now he's falling into the clutches of the 42 of David Comstock as Comstock gets right on the back bumper. Now looks to the inside in 3 and 4 as they come to the white flag in stage 2. Who's going to get these positions? Looks like Comstock's right on the back bumper of him as they come to the stripe.
He was right there, but needed about an extra half a foot to get the positioning. And because he didn't have it, it allowed Faridars to go low. Here's the big dive by Comstock. Hard to the inside of the racetrack. He's going to push up, and there's contact. Crowder into the outside wall. He'll spin at a quarter number 2, and it'll be a caution to end the stage after contact between Crowder and Comstock in turn number 2.
And that was a bold move by the 42 machine, just trying to go after that extra point. He was able to get it, but at what cost is it going to come to him? Because I believe he's more than likely going to have to take the caution, which will send him to the back on this next restart. But he's going to get the stage points. It looks like he's going to finish 4th out of all of that, and that's going to help him in a big way there with the stage points. But the track position that he's about to lose is going to hurt him.
It'll be a tough break, and well, I think I forget the battle, but somebody made a big move like that, Brian, as well, with about 3 to go in the opening stage, and I said, oh, I think it was Gabe Wood making a slide job on somebody, and I said, okay, that might be a move with about 7 to go in the race, but I guess also with 7 to go in the stage, and that's like a race-winning move, diving to the inside. That's how important 1 or 2 bonus points are to these guys.
Well, and that's what you want to see. That's what this stage racing is doing. It's forcing these guys to go after every single lap and make the middle of the race a little bit more exciting, and that's exactly what we got to see right there. And what an incredible battle between those drivers, and it's going to result with David Comstock getting the points. But now these guys come to pit road one more time, and Jeff Ford will once again be the guy to come to pit road. Last time these guys were on pit road, Anthony DeBarro slid through his box. He lost some track position, and we saw that he was just never really able to rebound from that. So we know how important it is to be flawless down here on pit road. All of these guys have to be flawless when they get to their boxes this time.
They're back into the pit stalls. Jeff Ward didn't have any issues last time as he's gone back-to-back with the stage wins here tonight from Las Vegas. That means that we're only halfway home. He's already got 20 points in his back pocket. Strategy call looks like it's going to be the same. It'll be 4 tires right side and left, and Jeff Ward is also going to win off at pit road. We'll take another opportunity to step aside. When we come back, though, we're racing to the end from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jeff Ward is still your leader in the Real Estate Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, powered by LSRTV from Las Vegas. Back live from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Lights out on top of the pace car. So here we go. A exciting conclusion to the second stage in this one. Jeff Ward taking home both stage wins, and I believe has led every single lap tonight. But Daniel Eberhardt made a big charge at the opening portion of stage 2. It died out late, but now that he starts alongside him, is this going to be his opportunity? The restart is going to come with 60 laps to go. There's no more stage breaks, so we are racing from this point on to the checkered flag in the Nevada desert. Pace car down. Jeff Ward looking for a good restart. He will get it, but so does Eberhardt. Back underway. Neck and neck for the lead. Now the 89 clears.
And it looked like Eberhardt had an opportunity, but I believe he spun the tires as he was trying to work his way up through the gears, and that allowed for Jeff Ford to get clear and get away. And now the question is, who's going to have the speed on the longer run? And like you just mentioned, we have no more stages to slow this thing down, and based off of how clean the first couple of stages were, we have to assume we might go green from here to the finish. So now you have to wonder, how hard are these drivers going to push it? Do they take a chance at running hard now and then have no tires left at the end of the run, or will they go after it and be conservative at the beginning and have an opportunity to go after it later? Right now, it looks like everybody's racing pretty hard as the battle's on for third. David Comstock, Andrew Freenars battling side by side. Comstock's on the top, and Freenars is on the bottom.
Comstock really wants to get around the 88 machine here. He's gotten to him a couple of times, both at the end of stage 1 and 2, but wasn't able to make the pass. If he can get in front of him now, it might be able to save the 42 some headaches headed into the later portion of this run. Again, we don't know that we're going to go simply 31 laps to get yellow. This could go green to the end, so you have to conserve, and I think Freenars made a decision that he didn't want to challenge, backed out of it, and David Comstock, race high, now third.
and he's got some really good speed in that car right now as he's beginning to try to chase down the number 90 of Daniel Eberhard. He's about 5 car lengths behind him, but he's carrying some really good speed, and it looks like he's closing that gap in a big way right now as he gets down to less than about 3 car lengths off of the back bumper of the number 90 machine. Really closes that gap down and tries to get closer to him, and we have a nice battle beginning to shape up right behind him as here comes Gabe Wood out of nowhere. He's up in the 5th position, and he's challenging Andrew Freenarge as well. Gets right to the back bumper off turn 2, but not quite close enough to make that move to get to his door, but still a battle for 4th beginning to shape up.
And it's not the only fighting going on up front. There is a lot happening. To mid-pack, even outside of the top 10. Battles for 13th on the back. John Abbott into the Pretend Chevrolet. He, Gerald Campbell fighting. Steve Bavacqua, Shane Stanley Iyer as well. All of these drivers have been fighting for most of the night, just haven't been able to claw their way outside of those 11th through 18th positions, which rounds out everybody on the lead lap still. That's not running inside of the top 10. Only one driver has officially retired from this race, and it was the 04 Braden Whitaker. Ashton Crowder's multiple laps down on pit road a bit damaged, but the 04 only driver to park it so far, so 20 of 21 cars still out there.
I think it's worth noting Justin Lisenby is back up to the 11th position. He had that penalty at the end of stage 1 for driving through too many pit boxes, had to go to the back. He didn't really make a lot of noise in that second stage, but he has now found himself up, and he's actually back to 12th right now. Not really showing the speed that I expected him to, but he's beginning to find his way closer to the front of the field, and if he can get a couple of lucky breaks here, could certainly still have something to say about this race before it's all said and done. Battling back here on the outside of the top 10, he's right behind Dylan Hickey, and he's also right behind Dwayne Vincent, but it has a lot of speed back there. And this is a great battle actually going on around these guys. It starts around Shane Ewing and goes all the way back to the John Abbott machine. These guys have been all over each other, and you can see Shane and Dwayne Vincent right now are battling side by side for that 10th and 9th position.
And you would think that when you get this many laps into a race at green flag conditions, you're have done a fairly good job, I would say, of kind of balancing things out. You know, if you're faster than the guys that started in front of you, by this point you would expect yourself to be able to make moves to get around them and get into a position. But that back of the pack area, that back half of the lead lap cars are in such a fray every single restart that this is the opportunity where you're saying, hey, this race could have very well been green to the end. This might be my last opportunity to try to pass some of these guys if they're within striking distance. So it might almost put you into a position where you overdrive that car a little bit. Here comes a challenge for 12th. Listen to be on the defensive, and John Abbott drives it hard to the inside in 3 and 4. Those cars nice and tight on each other into the corner, and no advantage either way off the corner.
And look at Abbott, makes that move on the bottom of the racetrack. It looks like he has a small advantage heading down into turn 1, but the problem is he's on the bottom of the racetrack, and we've seen the outside line really be the place to be down here in turns 1 and 2, and that looks to be the case once again as Lisenby gets a good run up off the corner and is trying to move ahead of that 10 machine, but now Abbott stays on the bottom of the racetrack and is trying to carry that speed through the middle of 1 and 2 to take that position away. Meanwhile, back up at the front, there's a battle shaping up for 2nd and 3rd. Eberhard and Comstock, they have really closed the gap down. Right before we started talking about that battle in the back half of the top 10, these two were almost door to door, but it looks like Eberhard has begun to get away from him just a little bit as he's opened it up to about a 2 car length advantage, but these two are all over each other trying to race for that 2nd position.
And I would have to think that Eberhard is trying to take it easy, and Comstock is not really helping him with that, because again, at the end of stage 1, Daniel Eberhard, who started this race in 10th position, still had some ground to make up to get up to where he runs right now in P2. Got that done quickly, closed in the gap from Jeff Ward from over a second to the tightest it was at just under a half a second. And then he started to lose time. But when he was pushing it early, he was the fastest, if not at least one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. We haven't seen that kind of raw speed off of him off of this restart. Jeff Ward is still 0.4 of a second in front. Denali hasn't been able to tighten up on that. So either Eberhard's saving a little bit, or Jeff Ward has turned up the wick a tad bit as well. Eberhard best on track last time by, but still Ward, I think, comfortable enough, about 8 car lengths in front.
And it was about this point of the run in that 2nd stage where we started to see Jeff Ford begin to change the tide and begin to pull away from the 90 machine of Daniel Eberhard. It was about 15, 16 laps into the run where he really began to find that extra speed and was able to start pulling away. So now, if Daniel Eberhard has saved tires, we're going to see that difference at this point of the run, because he has begun to actually keep staying even with that number 89 machine. But he's also, like you just mentioned, he's got the number 42 machine of David Comstock right on his back bumper, not allowed allowing him to really manage those tires as well as he'd like. He's having to run kind of hard just to hold off that 42 machine. That could play a factor in this as well. But right now, all three of these guys staying within about a half a second of one another. And Comstock is one of those guys, he's always been so good at managing the tires. And now that he's got that track position, I have to believe he might be a bigger threat to Jeff Ward than anybody out here in this field, because if he can get ahead of Eberhardt and move closer to him, he's certainly got the car for it. If he can hold on to those tires, he's going to be a factor.
Again, we're racing from this one out to the end of lap 125, so still over 45 laps to go in this race. How about a side-by-side fight for P5? That one between Gabe Wood and Brendan Kohler. The 64 machine working on the inside of the racetrack. It's really a three-way bout if you consider Mitch Rollo a part of this. He kind of has an opportunity to decide if he wants to go high or low, but the 96 is throwing his chips on red and has been holding top side for the time being, hoping that maybe even the Nana DeBarro can jump in, and if we can get a three-car freight train going, which would really put Kohler in a compromise in position, and that's how desperate he was, forcing his way in line. The 96 will cross him up, but I think Kohler wanted that top lane to protect.
Well, he knows how important it is to be up there. You can carry that speed, and you can see now he's pinching down the 96 in the middle of 3 and 4, just trying to carry that speed back off, and you can see just how much that helped him as he's now able to hold off Mitch Rollo, stay on the outside line down here in 1 and 2, and he should be able to hold on to that 6th position, and indeed he will as he's able to stay ahead of Mitch Rollo. Now here comes DeBarro looking for that spot as well as he gets to the outside of Mitch Rollo, gets a great run coming up off turn 2, and he will take that position away, so that will move Anthony DeBarro up into the 7th position, and now he can try to go after that number 64 machine of Brendan Kohler, and he gets a good run coming up off 4 right there, which allows him to get right to the back bumper, and now they head down into turn 1. Can he make something happen down here? We'll just have to wait and see.
Or shade down at this end of the racetrack. You don't have to adjust anything on your screen. It is a very yellow color to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as the sun begins to set. Late evening conditions in the sim this evening has track temperatures at 82 degrees Fahrenheit and the outside temperature at 72 degrees, which obviously has a little bit of an effect on what kind of grip you get around a place like this, especially in these Xfinity Series cars. And continuing to monitor the fighting between Kohler and DeBarro, that's still 6th and 7th position. Overall, they're 4 seconds off of your race leader. And while it's not a battle, I just want to note that Jeff Ward up front has began pulling away from Eberhardt again, ever so slightly, but we saw this turning point in stage 2 at about the same distance into the run, and it's happening again right now at lap 83.
And that's with about 43 laps left in this race, 42 laps left in this race now, which does mean these guys have to come to pit road one more time. So if you're Daniel Eberhardt, and now that you're starting to lose ground to the race leader, do you consider short pitting at this point to try to get the advantage on the tires to see if you couldn't maybe make up some ground? At this point of the run, you're running about a 1.5 seconds slower than what they ran in qualifying and on fresh tires. So you could certainly make up some time. The problem is you would give it back up if Jeff Ward pits in 4 or 5 laps later or even 10 laps later. So it becomes a risk versus reward thing. But we know for sure these guys have to come to pit road at least one more time, whether it be under green or under caution. They have no choice but to come back. Now the question just becomes, when will they make that move?
The Donovan machine is obviously, if you're going to continue to challenge somebody at this point, you're not intending to come down to pit lane immediately in the future. Obviously then you would think you would back off, and then also the short pit strategy can really come into play if you're in a battle like this, and we've seen a couple of them tonight, mainly at the stage breaks. This battle with Wood, Kohler, and DeBarro, you get a couple of cars together, and the draft really makes it hard for anybody to pass anybody. You get stuck about that car length off, almost like you'd be running in these Xfinity Series cars at a place like Daytona. On the real world side of things, do you pit maybe to try to get away from somebody, get some clean air, just get that separation that you feel could be the benefit that you're missing at the moment?
It's certainly something that you could try, and there was a change for second position. David Comstock was able to get around Daniel Eberhardt. It looked like Eberhardt just let him have the position, and that will move Comstock up and allow him to move into that position. But yeah, I think that's something that you certainly would want to consider doing, because if you can just get away from everybody else and be able to run some clean laps where you don't have any of that dirty air really affecting the handling on your race car, you might be able to put down some more consistent laps and be able to have the fresher tires to get away from some of these guys that elect to stay out longer than you. it's going to be very interesting to see what these drivers elect to do, as we are at about 25 laps into this this part of the run. I believe we'll see these guys pit before lap 100, and they're going to try to split this thing right down the middle. If they pit anywhere from 95 to 100, it would almost be an even split to the finish, running about 30 laps on each end of the stage. So it's definitely something I think we're going to see, and I have a feeling you'll see these guys pretty soon on pit road.
31 in the 4 machine doing a battle a little bit deeper back in the pack. This is for 11th position. Dylan Hickey on the defensive against Justin Lisenby. And the 31 actually sticking those left side tires a tad bit down below that white line, and it will clear him as they head back to the front straightaway. So swapping things out way off for the race lead, but a battle to get into the top 10.
A great battle going on back there for those couple of positions, and that moves Justin Lisenby up into that 11th position. Now he's going to try to chase down Dwayne Vincent and Shane Ewing right ahead of him. And then there's another good battle going on just ahead of these guys, and that involves a couple of guys that have had a pretty good battle going on all night long. Gabe Wood, Brendan Kohler, and Anthony DeBarro. It seems like you could throw a blanket over these drivers. That's how close they've been to each other all night long. And we have our first pit stop of the night under green. Daniel Eberhardt pits from the 3rd position. He's on pit road, and this could very well lead everybody else down to pit road as well, because the fresh tires are going to give him almost a full 2-second advantage once he gets back out on the racetrack into his pit box cleanly, looking for 4 tires and fuel. And we assume this could be the final stop of the night, so it's got to be flawless. You got to make no mistakes, and you have to get back out there as quickly as possible if you want to have a chance to win.
Jeff Ward stays out, but David Comstock is in from 2nd. That could be big. The gap between the two of them was at 1 second by the time he pitted. David Comstock has slowed down 1.5 seconds from fresh tires to old tires, so it's not inconceivable that he could leapfrog and go to the race lead if Jeff Ward doesn't pit immediately, and the 89 machine will stay out. Now, this isn't a misstep by any means. Jeff Ward could stay out for a little bit longer. Chances are he would lose the race lead, but then he would have fresher tires when he gets back out there, and he would have better tires for longer. That would give him the advantage in the run down to the end of this race, but it's definitely a different mindset than what the short pit strategy is.
Well, it's one of those risk versus reward things. He's taking that chance that he's going to be able to make up the ground on the other side of this thing. And those guys that have already come to pit road, they're taking that chance that we're not going to have a caution to mess this up. Because right now, Daniel Eberhardt is scored 1 lap down. And I believe Comstock, and yes, he will, he's also scored 1 lap down now that they have the pit stops have cycled through. If we were to get a caution right now, Comstock, yes, he'd be the lucky dog. He'd be able to get back on the lead lap. But he would have lost all the track position that he has worked so hard for. So these guys have to be very careful right now, and I almost believe that's why Jeff Ward is sticking it out right now. He does not want to get caught on pit road with a caution come out and lose the track position. He's had the fastest car all night. He's pretty much, I think he's led every single lap to this point, and to give up that and possibly have a caution mess it up, I think that's why you're seeing him stay out here. I believe he'll stay out for at least 5 or 6 more laps, and then he'll be to pit road.
Next time by, he will take what is just 31 laps to go in this race. He's not the only one, though, on this call. DeBarro's still out there. Kohler, Rollo, Lisenby, Vincent Abbott, Bavacqua. You also got David Batone and Stanley Iyer have taken over the top 10. Obviously, first driver in and out of the pit lane is a lap down in David Comstock. That's one of the things we talked about when you have to come down to the pit lane, is you do lose a lap, which is why maybe a lot of drivers shied away from making that kind of a gamble to the stage breaks. But it is a battle right now for 13th and 14th position between Comstock and Eberhardt, which would, in theory, become either the battle for the race lead, if not at least 2nd and 3rd.
It's going to be a very interesting battle nonetheless, but I'm really surprised that a couple of these drivers behind Jeff Ward have elected to go with this strategy, and that being Anthony DeBarro, Brendan Kohler, Mitch Rollo, even Justin Lisenby and Dwayne Vincent. They were so far behind. I expected guys that were in that area to be the first ones to pit road, to get the fresh tires and see if they couldn't make up some ground and be able to get up there and challenge Jeff Ward and Daniel Eberhardt and David Comstock, and maybe play spoiler in this, but they have just not made that decision at all. And I believe a couple of these drivers are getting ready to come to pit road, as it looks like Justin Lisenby and possibly Mitch Rollo are now keying up saying they're coming to pit road, and indeed that assumes to be the case, as the 96 and the 31 are both on the apron coming off of turn 4, and they are heading to pit road for what we assume to be their final stops of the night. Justin Lisenby got in really hot, could have potentially been caught speeding. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but he carried a lot of speed coming into pit road right there.
This is a racetrack that lends itself an opportunity that if you really want to, you can drive it hard onto the pit lane. LSRTV is in. We expect the call as well to be for heated Rolo, 4 tires and a fuel, obviously, and this would be able to get you to the end. Interestingly enough, these pit stops basically coming at the same length into the run that our stage breaks were earlier. Again, the stages for this Icebreaker Winter Series always coming at quarter distance and at halfway distance in the race. I guess that if you only need 1 pit stop to the end, the natural thing to do is to pit at 3/4 distance, and that's about right on the money with what we're seeing with the strategy. More drivers in and out of pit road, losing their lead lap status, obviously. Still waiting on Jeff Ward to come down. He's going to lose a lot of ground to Eberhard and Comstock, but he's going to be a lot quicker. The question is, though, you have to find that sweet spot. You can't sit out an extra 2 to 3 laps because you're not going to have enough of a benefit. You're just losing time, and if you stay out too long, you're going to have really good tires, but you would have given up too much time. So somewhere in the middle, there's a sweet spot, and that's what Jeff Ward and company are trying to figure out, and I'm sure they're chatting about it on the radio.
Well, here's the problem right now. Jeff Ford just ran a 31.08 the last time by. Daniel Eberhard just ran a 29.71. That's about a 2 and 4/10 faster right there for Daniel Eberhard. And he's almost to the point of unlapping himself. He's only a couple of seconds behind Jeff Ford on the racetrack. He's actually right on the back bumper of Jeff Ford, getting ready to unlap himself. And the issue with this is it's going to take you 40 to 45 seconds on pit road to get your service done. To get 4 tires, fuel, and get back out onto the racetrack, it's going to take you 40 to 45 seconds. They're only running 30-second lap times. So you do the math. Now that they have gotten around him and gotten their laps back, they could potentially be 10 to 15 seconds ahead of Jeff Ford when it's all said and done. I don't know, with 25 laps to go, Evan, if Jeff Ford can make that time back up when he finally does come to pit road.
You can see right there's the 42 machine working on his inside. That's a very good visual illustration of the speed difference. Comstock has now unlapped himself, and you have to figure if he's at about a 1.5 seconds or a 1 and 4/10 seconds as it has been the last couple of times around, you multiply that by every single lap that Jeff Ward has stayed out in comparison to the 42 and company. You're looking at easy 10 seconds on track. And again, yes, Ward is going to get the benefit, but I think it's almost more of a gamble now that the 42's back on the lead lap to stay out. Some drivers are always wary of the short pit call because they lose the lead lap. If a yellow comes out, fresh tires don't mean anything. You're going to have to stay out to get back on the lead lap. Then you're going to be behind and with older tires. But now that he's back on the lead lap, it almost changes hands, and I think Comstock in a little bit more of an uncomfortable position. Say maybe a yellow flag were to come out at any point. If it comes out when Jeff Ward is leading, Jeff Ward's going to have to get tires. Comstock could, in theory, stay out, get the track position. Or if a yellow were to come out after Jeff Ward pitted, Comstock would be in front of him and would be able to restart up top. So I think that was very significant with a 42 working his way back to the lead lap, and the likes of Freenars and Wood aren't that far behind either.
I'm starting to wonder if Jeff Ford has a different plan in mind. I was just doing some math here, and when they went back green, there was 61 laps left to go in this race. Can they go 61 laps on the tank of gas? Right now, I'm listening to the 89 machine, and he is saving fuel in that car. He's got the car shut off going through the corner, trying to manage that and just see if he can't keep a little bit of fuel left in that tank. I believe Jeff Ford might have committed to a strategy that does not bring that machine back to pit road unless we have a caution. So now the question becomes, can he make that happen and be able to run the distance? 61 laps. That would be the amount of laps he'd have to run to keep this car on racetrack and at speed. The problem is now he's still giving up almost a 1.5 seconds a lap. He might still end up losing this lead to the drivers that are coming to pit road.
Comstock is 26.7 seconds behind, and with 21 laps to go this time by, would need about that 1.5 seconds every single time around to be able to catch up to him. And this is a strategy that's not really way out of left field, but I expect it for the guys who are doing it behind him. For Dwayne Vincent, who started 20th, for John Abbott, who started 19th, and for Gerald Campbell, who started 21st. They run 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now, and it is a big gamble to make this kind of a call because you're not sure if you're going to be able to make it to the end on fuel. But if it doesn't work out, you're really not losing all that much because you started so far back in the pack. If this strategy works out for Jeff Ford, it'll be a pat on the back, and I think the fastest car of the night will deservingly get the win. But if it doesn't work out, You're going to be asking why, because I think Jeff Ward could easily just take the strategy, the safe call, if you will, that everybody else is doing, and win this race just based on speed alone. He wants to do it on a combination of speed and strategy.
And that's the Jeff Ward that I know and have raced against over the years. He's that guy that likes to take that chance and just go for it and see what happens, and that's exactly what I see him doing here tonight. And I was just looking at the time differential. He's down to about a second now that he's losing to Comstock and Eberhardt right now, and he still has 23.3 seconds over the 90 machine of Daniel Eberhardt. Inside 20 to go. If he can maintain that loss at 1 second from now to the end of this race, he would be able to hold on to this thing and still have a little bit of breathing room, about 2.5 to 3 seconds. The problem then becomes if he gets to a point where he feels like he needs to save more fuel, he'd have to slow down, he'd start giving up more time. So he's definitely going to have to figure out where he wants to push and how hard he wants to push if he's going to try to make this thing to the finish without running out of gas.
He's getting down to the end of this thing, though, almost at 15 laps to go. Really down to the home stretch here. There's only one driver within double-digit intervals of him, and it's Dwayne Vincent, who is 7 seconds off. John Abbott has fallen 10 seconds back, and Gerald Campbell is at a fourth. Those are the drivers that I mentioned who came away from behind. They're not the only people, though, on the strategy call. Colby Buck is in 5th position. Of course, the Nani Daniel Eberhardt had been in front of Comstock, just lost that fight. So now Comstock is now leading the charge for drivers who did pit in P5. Eberhardt falls to 6th. I believe Colby Buck, though, as well, right there with those guys 7th. You got Friedars and Gabe Wood. So if my kind of scan through the field here is correct, 4 drivers total are on that strategy game of not pitting in the second half of this race. And at this point, I think you got to be committed to it. You can't bail out on the strategy now. There's no way you're going to have enough laps on the tires to be able to get back up. But Comstock now passing Gerald Campbell. The 6 has yet to pit, the 42 has. That's how quick the 42 is, but there is a significant speed difference that needs to be noted between Campbell and Ward. So we'll see, but those guys have now filtered their way into the mix with the drivers who have stayed out.
And with 15 laps to go, if David Comstock's going to have any shot at getting to Jeff Ward, he has to take advantage of these next handful of laps where he has no traffic in front of him, and he needs to try to lay down the fastest laps possible to try to make up as much time as possible. It was a little bit difficult for these drivers working through the cars that had stayed out on tires. You had to give them a little bit of space, and it could have cost them just a little bit of time, but now they can run essentially qualifying laps. I know they won't be able to run the speed, but it's essentially what they need to be trying to do every single lap. Just go out there and run as fast as you can to make up as much time as possible to see if you can get there. I don't believe Comstock has enough time, and we have a caution that's going to change it all.
Caution flag at lap 111, and that will change everything. The problems for Shane Ewing on the back straightaway. Number 32, Rayovac Chevrolet, wrong way around, and he got contact in turn 2. We'll take a second look at this one. At the LSRTV replay, it was a slower 32 and a faster 96. Shane Ewing was moving low to avoid the 89. It was a little bit of a spirited move by Rollo, who probably could have avoided that by rolling out of the gas, but held his own. Watched the 32 come down across his nose, and the 32 hard into the outside wall brings out a caution with 14 laps left in this race.
And this changes everything, and I believe we will see everybody come to pit road, because even if Comstock stays out on those tires, he's now got about 20 laps on the tires. If you're Daniel Eberhardt, if you're David Comstock, you can't really afford to stay out. You've lost the track position, but you're still within striking distance. If you can get a good pit stop here, maybe even take 2 tires to give yourself a shot, you might be able to get up there and challenge, because we're going to go back green with less than 10 laps to go, and now this is going to be the big money stop here, and Jeff Ward will be coming to pit road, and I believe you're going to see everybody else come with him. You see he's got a bunch of lap cars right behind him right now, and then everybody else makes their way to pit road, and it looks like, yeah, everybody's coming down, but Jeff Ward's going to have a pretty easy stop down here on pit road as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. I believe even if those guys took 2 tires, he might still end up winning the battle.
Even if he was going to be able to make it on fuel or not, it doesn't matter. He should be able to be first in and out of pit road. Does somebody go for the Hail Mary and go for 2 tires? I don't think we've seen anybody really try that yet this evening, but Jeff Ward is down from the race lead. Right side tires on clean. Left side tires going to go on clean. If it needs any fuel to the end, it'll be just a splash and go. He will be second off of pit road because David Comstock, 2 tires only, will go to the race lead.
That was a big call for David Comstock, and it's going to give him the lead. And it's going to be, I believe, the first time tonight that anybody not named Jeff Ward is going to get to lead a lap here at Las Vegas. But I don't know how well this is going to work out for him, because he was the only driver that made that call to take 2 tires. Typically, when you're making a call like this, you hope you have 3, 4, 5 other guys make that 2-tire call to come with you. That way you have a little bit of a buffer back to the guys that have 4 tires. Well, for David Comstock, when they go back green, the 4 tires are going to be right to his outside and right on his back bumper. He's not going to have that advantage that he was hoping for, and it's going to make things very interesting. And he's also going to have to be mindful of the wheel spin when they get back to the restart and he tries to get on the gas for the restart. Those left side tires that have a little bit of time on them, it could cause some havoc for him as he's trying to get up to the speed.
42 machine would really like the clean air out front. He wins the battle off of the pit lane, and as the scoring cycles through at the line, he will be the top spot. Couple of cars in front of the 42. Simply lap machines will get away by Chase Kelly. He'll stay out. He'll get back to the lead lap. So will David Baton, Steve Bavacqua, Anthony DeBarro, and Dylan Hickey was staying out, although I believe that car got some damage in the contact in turn number 2, and by his coming down pit road may not be able to get back to the lead lap. So we ended up with 16 cars on the lead lap. But Jeff Ward has led every single lap up until 2 laps ago in this race, where Jeff Ward took things over with the 2-tire call. He has no buffer space. Sometimes if it's late race strategy and either you're talking about a difference between 2 or 4 tires, or drivers who stayed out to those who did decide to come down to pit lane, the biggest benefactor for the race leader is a buffer. A couple cars that slows that guy down, gives you time to get away. David Comstock has none of that. Gerald Campbell's up to 3rd. He's a big winner in this. Started 21st. Dwayne Vincent, a big winner. Started 20th. He'll maintain 4th. And even John Abbott, who's starting to get passed by a couple of those guys, started 19th and runs at 8th. He's a big winner in this. That's a buffer, because Kohler is 5th. He's stuck behind Campbell and Vincent. Freenars is 6th. He's stuck behind Campbell and Vincent. There is no buffer to Jeff Ward P2, which means that any sort of jump the 42 can get has to come solely on a restart.
And he's going to be trying as hard as he can to get up through the gears and get at least clear of the 89 to give him an opportunity to try to get to the outside line and be able to fend off that 89 machine. The problem is, I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold on for what looks like to be 8 laps when they go back racing. His best bet's going to be hoping that he can catch a quick caution before Jeff Ward has an opportunity to go after him to take that position away, which is not what Jeff Ward wants to see at all. He wants this thing to go green to the finish. And how about Dwayne Vincent sitting up there in that 4th position? We've not talked about him hardly at all, and for the most part of the night he's been outside of the top 10 or battling right at the back of the top 10. Now with 8 laps to go in this thing, he's up inside the top 5, and he could potentially be a spoiler in this thing. We've not really seen much out of him, but this would be the opportunity for him to get up there and be a factor in this thing and possibly try to steal a win.
So here we go with the lights out on top of the iRacing.com pace car. The restart to determine the race here tonight from Las Vegas. It has been all Jeff Ward. We have seen spurts of Comstock. We have seen spurts of Everhart. But Jeff Ward has been the best car tonight. One stage 1, one stage 2. If his strategy call was going to work out, was on his way to win the race, he's got better tires, but never say never. And will David Comstock swing for the fences? Results in a walk-off home run. The pace car's in. 116 laps down. 9 laps to go from Las Vegas. We're backing away.
And Comstock immediately goes to the apron of the racetrack, trying to get away from Jeff Ward, trying to create as much separation as possible. They're 3 wide for the 3rd position right behind them. Kohler on the bottom, Jared Campbell in the middle, and Dwayne Vincent on the top. They sort it out. They're back to 2 wide. There's a little bit of contact back there. Now they're 3 wide once again. Campbell stuck in the middle once again, and these guys are trying to get it all sorted out. Meanwhile, Comstock has got about a 2-car length advantage, but here comes Jeff Ward with a great run through 3 and 4, trying to close that gap as they come back to the stripe.
We're 3 wide back of the pack as Campbell slides, but the eyes are up front. Look at Jeff Ward, 4 car lengths below the white line that time, trying to find a way to the inside. Comstock's going to go top, trying to wind it up a little bit. He's loose, trying to get back to the gas, but it works for the time being. Jeff Ward, no net gain that time, stays a car length off of the bumper. But you have to feel, if we go green for the remaining 7 laps of this thing, there's no way Comstock can hang on for that long, and he may need the assistance of a yellow. Here's a another run by Jeff Ward to the inside. Let's go side by side for the race lead as Brendan Kohler closes from third.
And Comstock's on the outside line. Jeff Ward on the bottom. The Comstock has the momentum on the outside line. That's going to carry that speed to hold on to the lead. Jeff Ward slams the door on Brendan Kohler. Kohler had the run, could have gotten to the outside line. Ward made sure he wasn't able to do it. But now here comes Kohler once again running the outside line. And this is Comstock's best friend. If these two can get racing side by side behind them, that would open the door. And they are side by side. Kohler on the outside now. As he got a great run, he's able to stay on the right rear of the 89 of Jeff Ward. And now here they go 3 wide for that second position as Freenars goes to the bottom. Kohler is able to get around on the outside line, and he'll take second away.
And now the 64 again, he's got fresh tires. Now he's primed and ready to go. Ward ends up third. He may fall to fourth if the 88 of Andrew Freenars can get up and around Tim. And for the 42 machine, the 64 went from working in his favor to now being against him because all he's done is swapped out the 89 with himself. A car length between the 42 and the 64. That time by inside of 5 laps to go. If a yellow comes out, this race is over. Bad exit for Comstock. Kohler to the inside, down the Nellis straightaway, and side by side we go again.
There was a wreck in the back so far, no caution. Comstock now has to fight for his life as Kohler's on the bottom of the racetrack and will clear him for the race lead off turn 4. Brendan Kohler goes to the point. Comstock tries to side draft him to fight back, but he's not able to get there. Kohler is now clearly ahead of the 42 machine, and he can try to set sail. And now here comes Eberhardt trying to take that second position away. As he closes in, Comstock gets sideways off the corner, loses a ton of time, and Eberhardt's able to make that move, goes to the bottom and moves to second as they come to 3 laps to go.
Comstock has been incredibly loose all race long since we went back out to green. The 2 tires just don't give him the stability he needs. He did a valiant effort, but the floodgates have opened up. He may end up 5th or worse by the time this one's over with. Brendan Kohler, his race to lose now. 6 car lengths in front of now second place runner Daniel Eberhardt, who is there if there's any sort of a mistake out of your race leader. Jeff Ward still behind in third. Andrew Freenars now up to P4. Popsicle 6 in the air and 2 laps to go this time by.
Brendan Kohler just needs a mistake-free 2 laps if he's going to hang on to this thing and get his first win in the Icebreaker Series this season. But Daniel Eberhardt's not going to let him have it easily as he is trying everything he can to run him down. And we saw earlier on how good that number 90 machine was on short runs. He closes that gap down to less than a car length now as they come to turn 3 and they approach the white flag. He's right there now. He's going to have one more shot as they come back around.
Both these drivers have even tires, so the drivers are going to decide this one. Kohler started this race in 9th. Eberhardt started in 10th. They have been in this order, working through the field for much of the night. Can Kohler steal it late, or is Daniel Eberhardt going to say something about it? He's half a car length off to turn 2, a small run down the back. It's going to be a hell of a dive into turn 3 if he's got anything for him. Looking to the inside of the racetrack. Kohler traces him down to the white line. There's going to be contact. Kohler's going to get turned. Here comes Jeff Ward from third, and out of nowhere, Jeff Ward is going to win from Las Vegas.
What an incredible finish. You saw Daniel Eberhardt. He made that last-ditch effort, went to the bottom of the racetrack, just like you said, Evan Pasoko, tried to get underneath of the 64 machine and give himself a shot, got a little too close, made some contact, and Jeff Ward's got to be saying thank you so much because he has dominated this race, and until they got off turn 4, it didn't look like he was going to come away with the win, but a lucky break right there is going to get the 89 back to victory lane here in the Icebreaker Series.
Sometimes when it's your night, and Jeff Ward got up, challenged Comstock, and then fell to 4th, and at that point it looked like that it was over. And a set of circumstances where Eberhardt puts the bumper, it loosens up Kohler, who ends up 7th position with this one said and done, and Eberhardt was home free, but the contact slowed him down enough. And Jeff Ward was far enough away that the initial contact didn't force him to check up at all, that he could come spearing up the inside of the racetrack. And the 89 machine will not lead every single lap, as it looked like it might have been mere 15 laps ago, but he will win Stage 1, Stage 2, sweeps the points tonight with a max points night, and wins from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and one of the more memorable Icebreaker finishes in recent memory.
What a wild one right there. And for Jeff Ward, that's really important because he did not come away with very much of anything last week at Daytona. Didn't get any stage points that I recall, and he had a horrible finish. He was well outside of this thing, getting both those stage victories, getting those 20 bonus points, plus getting the win. That's going to help him get back into this championship battle and could certainly help him be a factor for this thing, especially considering that Gabe Wood finished back in that 5th position. He's more than likely, I believe, is still going to hold on to the points lead, but Jeff Ward is certainly going to make some headway towards that battle and certainly now has to be a factor in it.
We'll take a look top to bottom in a moment. First, one more opportunity as we step aside. When we come back to Las Vegas, we'll have an opportunity to chat with the top finishers and maybe take a couple more looks at a thrilling result here tonight to the Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series powered by LSRTV. Jeff Ward is your winner, and we'll be at a victory lane with him next on iRacing Live. Welcome back live to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. An exciting and what I'm sure for the drivers involved will prove to be a controversial result as the discussion continues on some of the team radios. We welcome you back live there to LSRTV's coverage of the 2018 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series powered by LSRTV. Evan Pasoko, Brian Backlund, Cisco Scaramuza, happy to be with you. We will go trackside and get the word from the horse's mouth per se. We'll get driver reaction from those involved in a moment. But as always, we'll first take a look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results. Jeff Ward ends up in victory lane. Don't see any reason why it would be taken away for the 89. He is your race winner tonight from Las Vegas. Things might get a little bit more controversial from there on back, and I will preface by saying unofficially from this point on to the end, Daniel Eberhardt comes home in second position. Andrew Farinars ends up third. David Comstock fourth, and Gabe Wood to round out your top five. It's a P6 for Dwayne Vincent. A good result after the 13 was off for the better part of the night. Brendan Kohler was about maybe 3/4, half a mile from a checkered flag. He ends up 7th by the time it's all said and done. John Abbott comes home at 8th position, paying due dividends with that strategy call, and the yellow helped him out late. 9th spot, Anthony DeVaro and Steve Bavacqua rounds out your top 10.
David Batone will finish in the 11th position here tonight. Then we have Mitch Rollo coming home in the 12th position. Chase Kelly, after a runner-up finish last week at Daytona, he's going to finish 13th. Then we have Justin Lisenby finishing 14th, and he was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Just did not have the night that he was looking for after showing some speed in practice. And then in the 15th position, we had Shane Stanley R finishing at 1 lap down. And then we had Dylan Hickey finishing 16th. 17th goes to Shane Ewing. Had a couple of issues here tonight. He finishes 2 laps down. Then we have Colby Buck finishing 18th. 19th will go to Gerald Campbell. He was in the middle of it, but had some issues right on that last restart. Ended up getting caught up in a wreck and was unfortunately unable to rebound from it. Ashton Crowder will finish in the 20th position, and then Braden Whittaker will finish in the 21st position and round out that 21-car field here tonight at Las Vegas. And Evan, you're in your hometown and you're in victory lane with one ecstatic driver. He almost led every single lap here tonight, and you're down there with Jeff Ward in victory lane.
I think it's safe to say that some folks have varying opinions on how the end of this race went down, but nobody can contest that Jeff Ward was the best driver all night long, and he is in Las Vegas Motor Speedway Gatorade Victory Lane. Jeff, congratulations on the win. We'll get to the excitement in a little bit, but I think it wouldn't do you justice to first ask about your night as a whole, because that car was so good up until that late race yellow and the strategy call by Comstock. You guys had led every single lap, comfortably winning stage 1 and 2, and it just looked like that tonight was your night. And there were points where, you know, we saw somebody get to you 4 or 5 tenths out, but nobody was able to get all the way up to you. That car was just too good.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. That was I hated to see the caution there on that one run, because we was a couple laps good on gas, and you know, my heart just sunk right there because we had such a good car all night long, and there on that last restart, the thing just wouldn't go, and you know, we got freight trained by a couple guys, and some 3-wide racing, and you know, I was praying them guys would go up there and get together, and sure enough, they went up there and made contact. So we just kind of squeaked through there, and I don't know what's going to come of that, you know, as far as what they call in the post race, but you will take it. You know, I feel like we kind of deserve that one with the car we had, so no regrets, and this is awesome.
Talk us about that strategy, because we saw most people, I think there were about 4 people, including yourself, that ended up kind of sticking with that strategy of, at least in the second portion of the race, don't come down pit road, try to stretch it on fuel. So we were kind of monitoring, you know, David came down pit road, was a lap behind. Obviously, that's what you get when you pit, and we were watching the intervals, and at first we're thinking, all right, well, if you're going to pit, you got to kind of find a sweet spot. Don't stay out too long. And then there's a point where we caught on. You guys were trying to stay out to the end. And you said that you guys were good on fuel to that point. So when the yellow came out, kind of what popped into your mind after, I'm sure, what you were thinking with 15 to go and be good on fuel, that you guys would have been safe to the end?
Well, when the caution flew, I thought that we just lost the race right there. Like I said, I was 2 to 3 laps good on gas. My real concern was David and Daniel being able to reel me back in, because I was really starting to fall off, and having to back out pretty early to maintain that plus 2 or 3 laps there on gas. So, you know, man, like I said, I really thought we lost the race when that caution flew, but circumstances just played out in our favor there at the end.
And then on that restart, you get right up. It's an immediate challenge for the race lead. And then the crowd kind of jumps in behind from 3rd and 4th, and all of a sudden you get cycled through to the back, and you're watching all of the late race thrilling action in front of you. When you dropped back those couple of positions, at that point, did you think that this thing was over, or did you feel like with about those 5-6 laps to go, that even without the contact that happened, that you guys were at least even enough with the 4 tires compared to the 2 for the leader that you could have got back up there, or at that point did you kind of gas yourself out?
Well, all night long, my car kind of took, you know, a good 5 laps to really come in where I could start, you know, making some headway. Right off on the starts, all night long, guys would get up to, you know, 4, you know, half second back, and then we'd start slowly pulling back away. So I knew we was in trouble there when we dropped back to, I think we got back as far as 4th or 5th there, just watching them. And the guys that took right sides were actually really good. So I guess they just took right sides and not as much fuel to stable the car out, but they were a lot faster than I expected. And when we tried to battle with David, we just lost so much momentum, and our guys came with a full head of steam. But you know, man, tickled to death. We took a pretty long break, and to come back and get right into form here, I'm pumped up about the season, and tickled to death here.
Obviously not the result you guys wanted a week ago, but you sweep the evening. Stage 1 winner, Stage 2 winner, and of course race winner tonight from Las Vegas. Jeff, we'll let you get out of here. I know that you've been working hard tonight. We appreciate the time you give us here late, but as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs makes it happen for the 89 team.
Yeah, just shout out to you guys, Real Sim Racing, LSR, and you know, Cal for running a tight group here. Thanks to my team, Loud Pedal Motorsports. And just, you know, thanks to friends and family, man.
Race winner tonight from the entertainment capital of the world, Jeff. We appreciate the time. Again, congratulations on the win, and we'll catch you next week in Michigan.
All right, thanks, guys.
Race winner tonight from Las Vegas. Right there in the mix, though. This thing could have gone a multiple different directions. Daniel Eberhard comes home in 2nd. Andrew Freitas comes home in 3rd. Trackside with both of them is Brian Backlund, beginning with the driver of the number 90 machine.
Yeah, down here with runner-up Daniel Eberhardt. Wild night for you in the number 90 machine. I just want to start off by asking your side of what happened between you and Brendan Kohler down there on the last lap.
I seen the checkered flag and nothing less, I guess. I mean, what I did was he was up a little bit, and so I thought he was going to push up, but instead he came a little bit down. So, I mean, my bumper, we were going to hit no matter what, no matter if I drove it in deep or whatever, but I drove it in deep and it stuck, and I expected him to push up a little bit. Instead, his car came down, and I bumped him. I mean, I was just going for the win, like I told him. I was just going for the win, but couldn't call it a MF and everything. Just grow up a little bit. That's all I got to tell the kid.
Well, obviously, hard racing is what it came down to at the end of that thing, and it was a good battle between the two of you. And take us through the battle that was going on at the end of that race between everybody up there. You had Comstock out there on 2 tires. You had Jeff Ford trying to get back to the lead. Then you had Freenars up there, and then, of course, Brendan Kohler as well. Pretty wild battle in that top 5 for the last 10 laps or so.
Yeah, I thought Comstock was going to have it there, and then I seen his right rear just, it was done after that. He was just holding on for dear life, and then Kohler got up there. Me, Ward, and Freenage were 3 wide, and it was fun racing back through there. It was fun racing back through. I didn't have nothing. Nobody had anything for Ward. I mean, the guy who won the race was the class of the field, so he deserved it. And yeah, I could have went down and blocked him and then wrecked him, but I wasn't looking to wreck anybody coming to the start-finish line. I was just trying to make a race out of it, and he won the race fair and square, and he had the dominant car, so he deserved it, and congratulations to him. But it was a good race all around coming up through the field.
And this was our first non-restrictor plate race with the stage racing in place. In your opinion, how has it went so far from the driver's standpoint, having those stages to slow things down at the beginning and then have the second half run like it does? What's your opinion on it so far?
It goes both ways. Stage racing, you look good if you run up front a lot, and then you can have people who steal it and steal a couple points, and that's fine. That's part of it. And it's realism. They do that in the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. And but I mean, I go both ways on that because I mean, you could have people up there that go up there and burn their tires off, and you can have people that save their tires and could run up front all race, and you're slowing the pace down. All of us want to get the race done and over with. We want to click off laps because the more laps we click off, the better we get. But that's part of it. Sometimes the committee or the admins or whatever you want to call them, they make these decisions, and we run with it because we love the league and the people we race around. We don't come back every week just to, run for the rules. We come back because we love racing the people we race around. They put on a great league, and whatever their decision is on this stage racing, I mean, if it looks good to them, it's about the viewers. I mean, don't ask us. It's about, keeping the viewers in touch and people understanding and keeping it more realistic.
All right, well, before we let you go, Dan, sponsor shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you on the number 90 machine, bud?
I got to thank Andrew. It's just me and him this Icebreaker series. And David Comstock, he was really quick there. Got to thank him for racing me clean. And Jeff Ward and all of Aegis back at the other side of things. Well, this is just, I love racing, so this is why I raced the Icebreaker series. And thank the good Lord above for... because if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible. My girlfriend for all the support and everything she does for me and let me race on this each and every week. And you guys for putting on the broadcast and RSR. And we'll come back next week and see if we can get a W.
That was driver of the number 90 machine, Daniel Eberhardt. Good luck next week. And I'm going to slide around here real quick, and I'm going to catch up with our third-place finisher, Andrew Freenars. Andrew, you had a really strong car all night, up inside the top 5 for much of the night. Didn't quite have the speed to go after Jeff Ford for the win, but you still got a good finish, finishing third.
Yeah, definitely a good night. Had a lot of fun out here. Kind of stayed quiet most of the race. We were in the top 5 pretty much all the race, and I think that's about the car we had. I had nothing for Jeff, man. He was flying. I can't even figure out how he was going that fast and saving tires like he did. But, we just had a solid day, collected our stage points, got a top 3 of it, and we'll move on to next week.
That's what it's all about, and a good start to the season for you. That gets you some good points here tonight. And in a short season like we have, how critical is it to have the solid nights like you had? You were 9 points out coming into tonight. Looks like you're going to gain a few points on Gabe Wood and might move up a couple of spots in the points, but we only have 9 races in this season, so you really can't afford any bad races. What's your take on that?
Yeah, definitely. Every point counts. Last week we were fortunate to get 19 stage points, and then we got wrecked. We still came home 10th, so I would have liked to finish on the lead lap there, gain a little more points, but we took what we could there. Coming in tonight, it was just same idea. Try to run in the top 5 all night, grab the 2 stage points, and then finish in the top 5 at the end of the night. Jeff Ford, Daniel Everhart, and I know Comstock, they all had rough weeks last week, so those are the guys I'm mostly worried about, so nice to kind of keep a point lead on them.
We've got Michigan and Iowa coming up before we take a couple of weeks off for the holidays. How do you feel about those 2 tracks? Obviously 2 completely different monsters from each other, one being a 2-mile oval and then the other being a 3/4 mile short track. Out of those 2 races, which one do you feel like you stand a better chance in?
Definitely Michigan. I like that track a lot. Iowa I actually don't even own on the sim yet. I don't have to pick that up. So haven't even been there, don't even own the track, and have to put a lot of practice in there. But Michigan is a track I feel really comfortable at. Didn't do too much racing in the Xfinity car there. Definitely feel comfortable in the Cup car. Nothing a little practice can't fix. But definitely Michigan more than Iowa.
And from a slightly biased opinion, I can tell you that Iowa is an incredible track, and you will love it once you finally do get it and run some laps around there. Before we let you go, though, Andrew, who makes it happen for you on the number 88 machine? Sponsor shout-outs?
Definitely want to say anyone who wants to join this league, though, definitely a ton of fun. So just get that out of the way. A lot of great people in here, great racing. Clearly by the finish there, it's a ton of fun. Anyone who wants to join, definitely recommend it. I got to say thanks to LSRTV broadcasting the race every week, especially in the Full Throttle Cup series and this Icebreaker series. Love watching the races back. Everybody in Aegis, I know I don't have Aegis or PowerTech on the car at all, but they're definitely behind it. They run the Full Throttle Cup series. I got Daniel as a teammate. I got to say thank you to him. Big shout out to Steve. He actually doesn't own Vegas, so usually he's on the box spotting for me and crew chiefing, but fortunately couldn't do it tonight because he doesn't own the track. My brother for building a computer let me run this sim. My dad, my grandpa, my mom, just everybody who makes it happen on this 88 team.
All right, congrats on your 3rd place finish here tonight, and good luck next week at Michigan, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Brian. Look forward to it.
That was Andrew Freenard, finishes 3rd here tonight at Las Vegas. And like he mentioned, if you want to join this league, this is a really amazing league to run in at Evan Pasoko. And you can go to livesimracing.com/realsimracing to find the registration information to get into this Icebreaker series. There's still a lot of spots available, and we would love to have some more guys out there to make the action that much better. But we had a great race here tonight, Evan Pasoko. A lot of action going on throughout the entire field, but an incredible battle that ended up with a wild finish here tonight.
And I also want to note that you can sign up all the way through the rest of the year. So when we get to January, registration will be closed. This is a 9-race championship. We're 2 weeks down, but if you're checking it out and you want to get involved, livesimracing.com/realsimracing will be accepting to people all the way through December the 31st, which means that if you're pushing it as late as that, spend some of the Christmas money on it, you can get in and race for those final 5 weeks. But this is an exciting race, and let me preface by saying I don't think every single race at an intermediate racetrack will be this exciting, but the races are fun and you should stick around for the rest of the year. But we kind of thought coming into tonight we would return to normalcy, if you will, putting Daytona behind us, really getting our first look at the stages. We saw some drivers try to push it early in the stage, try to push it later in the stage to get points. We saw guys wrecking each other on the last lap of the stage, so the stage points are going to be critical. But for Jeff Ward tonight, aside from the crazy, chaotic, thrilling, exciting, controversial finish, Jeff Ward, max points, won both stages, won the race. That's huge for him just in general, but especially because he got out to a slow start with a bad result at Daytona a week ago. We talked to Gabe Wood in Victory Lane. The biggest thing he took away was that we're starting the season ahead, not coming from behind. Good way to make up is to get max points, and I'm sure we'll see this a couple more times, but Michigan comes up next on the calendar, and that'll be next Monday night on the 11th.
and Michigan is a track that can give you some really good racing. And we also have to keep in mind that when we come out to Michigan next week, we're going to have a completely different build. These guys are going through, or this service is going through a major change tomorrow. They're changing the aerodynamics and some of the mechanics of these cars in their build next or tomorrow, which is going to change the way these cars drive and change the handling for sure. And for all of these drivers, it's going to be a challenge to get out there and find out just what they're going to have to do to find speed at Michigan. It could end up being a completely different beast from what we've seen. So something to certainly look out for. And for these drivers, they're certainly going to have a lot of practice to do if they want to make sure they're going to be competitive next week at Michigan.
Until that one, it wraps up our coverage for this evening. There is plenty of live sim racing coverage here on LSR TV, though, over the course of the week. As we mentioned, we do have tomorrow off. There is no NASCAR iRacing Pro Series because the build is coming out, so enjoy your Rallycross and everything else that comes with that. And we will be back with you on Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, for the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, and then a doubleheader on Thursday of short track racing at 9 o'clock. We'll have the Rivalry Racing Snowball Derby, and at 9:30 we'll have the Upstate Racing League. If you've got two screens, that is a perfect opportunity to be with us live for both races on Thursday, December the 7th. And on Friday, the Super Speedway Cup Series playoff continues at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, we'll wrap up the week on Saturday night with the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. You can find our extended broadcast schedule online at livesimracing.com. But the best way to keep up to date with us on a day-by-day basis is by keeping up with us on social media. On Twitter, that is at LSRTV. And on Facebook, you go to facebook.com/LSRTV official. Until next time, though, on behalf of the entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC, for DJ Lyon, Laura Lawson, and of course for the broadcast crews who make it happen topside here night in and night out, and for the team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Brian Macklin and Cisco Scaramuza, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Jeff Ward on his win from Las Vegas. Max points for the driver of the number 89 machine. Next week we will be at Michigan International Speedway next Monday as the Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series continues. That race at every race on the road to the championship can be found right here at LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night.